All right.
Wow, he's quite a personality.
All right. Hey. Ready? Studio. You're listening to Smooth, the 98.1 at Love Music, Love Life. My name is Judith Achibi. You are welcome to the drive time discussion portion of our show today on the Smooth Drive for Hump of the Week Wednesday. Now, if you have been listening from the beginning of the show, I have been talking about this particular interview that I'm about to do, and I have quite the full house with me. So I would first say just go onto Instagram, rather still go onto YouTube and go stream us live. We're on YouTube right now at Smooth981 on YouTube. That's at Smooth981 on YouTube. Go on there and go catch us live right now. Now, this morning was quite the very unfortunate, or should I say from last night or yesterday afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, all the way down to this evening. It's been, and also this morning has been quite the chaotic situation for the residents of the Magodo estate. Now, joining me live via Zoom today, I have with me three guests. The very first is our very own Mr. C. You probably will know him as one of our analysts on our newspaper review show on the Smooth Breakfast. That's Freshly Pressed 981. Mr. C, good to see you on an evening, on a Wednesday evening. It's usually mornings for us, but good evening to you.
Thank you, Judith. Good evening, Judith. Good evening, Mr. Tunji. Good evening, Toby.
All right, wonderful. Great to have you here. We also have with us live in the studio, joining us via Zoom as well, Mr. Tunji. He is a lawyer and the legal advisor to MRA, that's the Magodo Residents Association. Mr. Tunji, good evening to you too as well. Welcome to the show.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Good evening,
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I have with me a very special guest. This is this was very last minute, a big pull for him to come join me. And I'm really, really thankful for having you join with me today. It's Toby Adama. Toby, help me do the introductions because we're unable to do the introductions because of the very time constraint that we had. But please go ahead and help us do the introduction there, Toby.
Thank you, Judith. Good evening, everyone. Good evening to the other panel. Toby Adama here. Afrocrops Real Estate. We're a 10-year-old real estate company. We've been operating in Nigeria for most of our career. And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Now we're going to kickstart things. Now, for everyone who's just joining for the first time and wondering what really happened at Magodo, let me give you a backstory of what happened this morning. Now, officers of the Nigeria Police Force on Tuesday evening, that was yesterday, besieged the phase 2 of Magodo Estate in Lagos State in what appears to be a move to demolish some houses in the Highborough Estate. Now, residents allege that the police officers, accompanied by some youths who appear to be hoodlums, into the estate to start marking homes or some houses in the area of demolition. Now, a resident there said, according to this article from the cable, said it had been marked, that inscriptions had been marked in over 300 houses in the estate. Now, this morning, what happened last night spilled over to this morning as exits and entry into the estate was closed. Now, I want to go into details, but first I want Mr. Tunji here to give us a first account as a resident. Mr. Tunji, I understand you're a resident of this estate as well. Tell us what's been going on at the estate in the last 48 hours.
Thank you for the opportunity. I think what has been going on in Magodo in the last 28 hours has been unfortunate and illegal invasion of our estates by thugs in court, and then aided by the police, as far as I'm concerned, to come and carry out an illegal act. I entered into the estate yesterday around 1 o'clock, and at our secretariat gate, I met so many police around. And as the legal officer, advisor of the estate, I tried to make inquiry as to what is happening here. And I was told they are there to execute what's it called? Judgment.
Supreme Court judgment.
Judgment. I said, which judgment? Can you please show me the order where any the government was the judgment which showing regarding the judgments? They were unable to show me anything. The best I could see was a public notice from a newspaper, And I said, you cannot execute judgment based on public notice. There must be an order. And they say and the police said their aim there is just to enforce it. I should go and make the beliefs. I said, I've not seen any belief. Those I'm seeing here are thoughts. And that was how they started marking everywhere. And then that was around 1 o'clock. We were engaging, we were talking with them. We are making effort to ensure this thing. So until like 7 o'clock, effort had been made. They were still marking. And then later we now realize that they've stationed a bulldozer in front of one of our Sangisa gates of the estate.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're making it in an attempt to maybe probably demolish some property or do something. And then based on that, we had meetings, and then everybody agreed to be on standby, and we mobilized ourselves. We went to the gates, and we were there to ensure that no what's it called, bulldozer enter into the estate. And we were there 2 a.m. and we were able to turn the bulldozer back, and they took the bulldozer away from the Sangisa gate to the Secretariat gate. They put it there, and then we thereafter we now notify all residents that nobody is going out tomorrow by 6 a.m. because we must ensure that the ward and the government know what is happening in our estate. We decided to block the gates, and then to express our displeasure and to prevent any unlawful invasion into our estate. The police were there. In fact, after this 6 p.m., they were sitting in our estate. They were from Abuja on the order of IGP, over 100 of them. They came from Abuja on the order of IGP without any court order to show us that this is why they are here. They have the authority, they have this permission, though they say they have permission of the IGP to come. And we were asking them to show us the order, which the police approved this, what's it called, support for enforcement. None has been given to us to date. But we were able to do our thing today. And then thankfully, we were able to repair the attack for now, because the government representative have visited us. The IGP representative came, and then they assure us there won't be any infection as dosing of any house as it is now. So we are hoping that nothing of such will happen again.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Tunji, for that. And now, Mr. C, I'm going to come to you because you're a lawyer as well by profession. And looking at the story here, this is something that's been going on for the last 38 years. I'm going to give a bit of background to what's really going on in terms of the court ruling and this land tussle and all this tussle that's going on. So from what I can see here, and this is from Vanguard newspaper, right? The Supreme Court judgment, which mandated Lagos State to give back 549 plots to the original owners of the area before it was fraudulently acquired over 38 years ago, right? As the anti-riot policemen were, in strategic areas, like Mr. Tunji said, and they were putting inscriptions on each of the houses, it could be recalled that the military government of the state, that's Lagos State, acquired the area for public use, right? But later it was sold to government officials and their associates, which made the original owners, through the Shangisha Landlords Association, approach the High Court for redress. Now, the court then ruled that both parties should maintain the status quo in the area. That is, both parties should vacate the land until further determination of the case. But in disregard of the court order, the state government continued to sell the land. And this is what's brought us here. And this thing has been going on for the last 38 years. When I saw that line, it really blew my mind. But Mr. C, there's a court ruling. There's no court order. They're trying to, enforce something that's not even been ordered by the court. What exactly is that? Help me make sense of that act.
Okay. Thank you very much, Judith, and thank you for the breakdown. Now, I'm going to piggyback on your brief foray into history. Now, in 1984, the military government, as you rightly stated, the military government of Lagos State forcibly seized houses belonging to the Shangisha Landlords Association, ostensibly for public purposes. Now, what I've not been able to confirm as we speak is whether any compensation was paid. Now, subsequently, the Shangisha Landlords Association went to court, and a number of injunctions were given, restraining the Lagos state government from continuing to sell the houses, the plots of land which it had already started. And Justice Omotosho retired did give an order that both parties maintain the status quo pending the final determination of the suit. Now, sometime in 1988 or 89, the final judgment of the Lagos State High Court was given, and the court directed the Lagos State government to give the Shangisha Landlords Association 549 plots. Now, the challenge I have with that judgment, from the report I've seen, is that the 549 plots were not identified by means of a survey. So it's up in air as to where exactly the 549 plots are coming from. The Lagos State government appealed that judgment of the High Court to the Court of Appeal, and the appeal was dismissed. A subsequent appeal to the Supreme Court equally failed, and in 2012, the Supreme Court affirmed the judgment of the Lagos State High Court that was given sometime in 88 or 89, to the effect that the Lagos State government should give the Shangisha Landlords Association 549 plots. Now, there are various accounts. One of the accounts states that they were to be given 549 plots from the Shangisha Magodo Scheme 2. However, I haven't seen any documents to that effect. But beyond all of this, it's a sad commentary to the culture of impunity that has continued to pervade Nigeria since independence. Because even as far back as 86, 87, the High Court had advised the Lagos State government to suspend the sale of plots of land to members of the public. Now, subsequently, this same Lagos State government, because government is a continuum, has now sold these plots of land to innocent third parties and issued them with certificates of occupancy, which suggests that in the eyes of the law, they are prima facie presumed to be legal holders of the legal interest in those plots of land and are recognized in law. Now, previous commissioners for justice in Lagos State, and specifically Mr. Ade Ipaye and Mr. Femi Pedro SAN, have tried to see how this judgment can be executed, how the order of court can be implemented. Now, I've come across a report which suggests that about 300 members of the Shangisha Landlords Association were given alternative plots of land in Ibejuleki and Badagry, and they accepted. So one of the questions is, if 300 have accepted, what happened to the other 249? Did they accept? If they did not accept, why? Who are the people who are at the Magodo's phase 2 gates seeking to enter and bulldoze properties? Now, it's instructive that Mr. Tunji, when he was speaking earlier, did say that he wasn't given a copy of any judgment. Now, if you are coming to enforce a judgment, it is tried law. It is the practice that whoever is coming to execute that judgment is not only armed with a copy of the judgment, but also armed with a warrant of possession. I wasn't there physically, but I didn't hear him say any of the individuals present there yesterday or the day before yesterday had any of these documents. Now, the bigger question is, what is the solution? The solution is not complicated. The Lagos State government is in the middle of all of this tussle and is the right organ to resolve this matter. Now, because there's a lacuna in the judgment of the State High Court, which was also continued by the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court, as to the location of the 549 plots, it is instructive that the Lagos State government should sit down with both the Shangisha Landlords Association and the Magodo Residents Association, because bulldozing people's properties is not the way to go. Because even if you allege that they are there illegally, you cannot bulldoze on the strength of some nebulous court judgment that has not been seen. You need to obtain a court order specific to your interest. And that is what I expected these individuals who are at the gates of the policemen to do. And again, I'm disappointed with the Nigeria Police Force. Someone comes to you with a court judgment to enforce. You have a legal section for crying out loud. Was this judgment shown to the legal section? What was the advice? You just don't mobilize because someone has the ability and the resources to move you from one end of the country to another end. What were the steps taken? What was the procedure followed? You cannot move into an estate to bulldoze and demolish properties on the basis of a court judgment that very few people have seen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. C, for that. Now, Toby, I'm going to come to you next, but it's going to be right after this. But I just need you to bear the questions in mind before we take that break. And it goes to more about land ownership in Nigeria and just pretty much navigating the waters when it comes to, it's just murky waters when it comes to land ownership. This has been going for 38 years, and some persons may are not even aware of things like this. How can the real estate company be able to do sort of like fact checks if they can, or make sure that, you know, when people are buying land or like getting home ownership in and of itself, they don't get into sticky situations such as this? Because I mean, the law can do as much as it can, but again, sometimes we Nigerians like to take matters into our own hands. But I need you to just have that question in the back of your mind as we go for a break. If you're just tuning in, this is a Drive Time Discussion special. We're talking about the incident that happened both last night and this morning at the Magodo Estate Phase 2, as residents found bulldozers outside of their estate trying to demolish their home following dispute between the Association of Shangisha Landlords and the state government. Stay with us. It is a smooth drive. My guest today is Mr. C, Mr. Tunji, and of course Toby. We're streaming live on YouTube. You can also join the conversation as well on our WhatsApp platform. That's 0809-444-0981. Stay with us.
Hey, what's up, my people? What's going on?
All right, that was pretty good. So well done, guys. Toby, sorry, all the speech bands are really long, but you're gonna have your time to just go in, right?
Not a problem. Not a problem.
Yeah. So
I need to set record straight as well.
Sir?
I need to set some record straight regarding the case.
Okay, yeah. Then when we finish with Toby, then we can come back and, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, when we finish with Toby, we'll come back to you, sir. So Toby, it's just basically, you know, land ownership, how to navigate it. You know, people have stories like this. You know, I'm sure there are people who are landowners there that really didn't know about this, or, you know, they're buying land to see, they're getting CFOs from the state government and this is happening, you know. I've heard stories and stories and stories. So yeah, we'll just talk about that.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
All right, cool. All right, we're gonna come back after this, right? So I'm just trying to make sure the ads run before they kill me. Just so we get it on time, so I don't, you know, this is how we pay our bills here, so bear with us.
Sure.
It's a season, so lots of ads, lots of.
That's good.
All right. We're going back in 7 seconds. Everyone get ready. We're going in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Studio. And welcome back. You're listening to Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. It is a smooth drive for a Hump of the Week Wednesday. We're inside the drive time discussion portion of our show today, this Wednesday. And I have with me in the studio or via Zoom. I keep saying in the studio, but they're joining me live via Zoom, all thanks to technology today. And we're discussing all the incidents that have been happening since yesterday, Tuesday afternoon, all the way down to this morning and throughout the entire day. I've spoken to two persons of the Magodo Residents Association, that's the president and secretary, and I would tell you for free, they are tired from their voices, all that's been going on at the estate. So joining me via Zoom today, I have with me Mr. C. He's our analyst on our in-depth newspaper review show, that's Freshly Pressed 981. He joins us today to help us make sense of what's been, just help us simplify the timeline of what's been going on with this particular Dabako at Magodo Estate, as well as Mr. Tunji, who is the legal advisor to the Magodo Resident Association, as well as Toby, a real estate he's part of a real estate agent there, company. So Toby, help me. Before the break, I was asking you about land ownership. Now, every Lagosian's dream is to own a home or land in Lagos State. Now, you've heard stories from it not being still owned by the government, or there's the case of the Omoniles, in quote, or, you know, the association, one after the other, who actually own this land. And it's such a difficult thing to sort of wade in this water that is land ownership in Nigeria. And this case with the Magodo Resident Association is stories we've heard before. I mean, not particularly to Magodo's situation, but we've seen cases and cases like this where landowners or people who buy homes come to find out there's a big issue that's still not being resolved or still trying to be settled. And they just have, one of the things we get a home is for peace of mind, but that's not the case for many. But how do landowners, what do you need to do how do you get your checks? What can you do to make sure that you don't fall in situations like this?
Good evening again. Thank you, Judith, for having me. And just to give a bit of a context to the land purchase process, I think I'll need to take you back to what is obtainable in terms of law in the country. Mm-hmm. So the Land Use Act of 1978 vested, land owned by the people, like, people in a particular area, mm-hmm. vested is as in the trust of the governor of, the state. And if you look back at that and you look at what is going on in Magodo right now, people have COOs, which was issued by the governor of that state. You will not blame people not to do thorough due diligence because they are sort of buying directly from the government, which is like the holding authority for all the land vested in that state. So my advice is very simple. Before you go into any land transaction or any property transaction, make sure you get an experienced agent involved. Make sure you get an experienced lawyer. What are the things to check for? Check, the title for deficiencies. Check what is the unexpired term. Then also, you can go a step further to check if there are any cases, you can go to the High Court and all of those. Once you do proper due diligence, you know what you're working with. It is very important to go through this process and most importantly, use professionals that understand, the market, that understand the dynamics of how it works. And at this juncture, with what is happening in Magodo, it will not be a case of, you cannot resolve this situation with violence. Everyone has to come to the table. There has to be transparency as to how to move forward. In my experience in the industry, one of the ways that issues like this are resolved is by having an agreement where people will pay ratification. to, owners. But you can't even get to that stage if there's no agreement in place. But I know that we'll move past this. Lagos people are very resilient. Over to you.
Well, thank you so much for that. Mr. Tunji, before the break, when we're during the break, you were saying that you wanted to make clear a particular stand. Yeah, so over to you there, the statements you were trying to make during the break.
Yeah, I want to clarify certain things because people are making it look like as if people in Magodo who have certificate has been notified or is not valid or their property has been, they've been asked to surrender their property to anybody. That is not correct. There is no, those who own certificates through the Lagos government, no court has said that certificate is not valid. No court has rendered has revoked the certificate. Yes, there is a judgment against Lagos State government by which was affirmed by the Supreme Court. The judgment, as far as I'm concerned, it does not relate to any property in Magodo. It's a fake judgment, a fake and a declaratory judgment. What do I mean by fake? The judgments merely say that, because let me give you you have to know that this judgment came when most people have even acquired the land from the government, or after they have acquired the land from the government. And what they acquired that time was even land, and so the judgment, the way it was captured, as a very cannot be enforced against anybody because it did not state particular aspect of the land that was given to them. It did not state which area, which plots that has been given to them. So in other words, it relates to no particular property in Magodo as far as I'm concerned. And it's declaratory, it cannot be enforced. Which means when I say judgment is declaratory, what it means that even when the court says confirm that you are the owner of a property in that regard, you have to go back to court to enforce it. That's what in other words, you have to file another case to enforce it. Because the judgment merely say that look, the government should allocate 549 plots to them. That is the judgment. There is no survey to ascertain which land will be allocated to them. There's no judgment to say this is the particular area that's been given to you. And let me also say that they also obtain a writ of possession. Writ of possession is what allows you to execute judgments. That writ of possession has been challenged and it's been set aside. So which means as it is today, they do not have any order to execute in Magodo or anywhere within that area. They have appealed against that order or that ruling, and the matter is currently at the Court of Appeal. In fact, it comes up in February 2022. Why they come to execute or to claim they want to execute now, we don't know. And that's why they are not able to show any document because they are aware that the matter is still pending at the court. The writ of execution that they want to rely on has been set aside by competent courts and it's on appeal. So that's why I say, as it is today, no judgment has said that those who own land in Magodo don't have land any longer, or their land are owned by any Omonile or whatever. It's not correct.
Absolutely.
No document, there's no document revoking their title. Let's even assume and not conceding that there's a valid judgment that is enforceable against Magodo people or against property in Magodo. As it is today, as far as I'm concerned, for them to enforce that judgment against anybody in Magodo, they must go back to court against each individual to obtain order of possession against them. In other words, you must file it. It's not like you want to eject your tenant or somebody occupying your property. You must go to court against that person to eject him, not relying on the general judgments that gives you power to say you are the owner of this estate, you are the owner of this property. When the court says you are the owner of the property and somebody is occupying that property, you must go to court against that person to be able to eject that person from the property.
All right. Thank you
for
so
you
much.
to just rely on that order to say you are executing and then say people should go out of the property.
All right, Mr. Tunji, thank you so much for that. Now, my last question was in regards to the last paragraph here from the Vanguard newspaper. And it's the last paragraph reads, many of the landlords said they bought their land from Lagos State government, adding that they were not aware of the litigation on the land when they bought the land for which they were given certificate of occupancy. And so my last question was pretty much about people who are not aware of situations like this. How can they check, and what advice would Toby give? We have messages here. This is CD Mints, and he goes, "Good evening. The Magodo estate crisis is shocking to me. I thought Magodo is one of the safest places to acquire a property. Something similar came up on ownership of land along the Isheri Idowu Egba Road between the Isheri family and the Bakari estate about 6 years ago. The case has been adjourned till the next 30 years for review, according to the occupants." Nice analysis from Mr. C and Toby there. This is Daniel, and he goes, "Why should the residency be the ones to pay ratification instead of the state government? The residents paid a fair value to the government, hence the state government is the one that has the issue." Now, Toby and Mr. C, before we go for this next break, we have about 4 minutes, but I want to ask you guys, and maybe Toby, I'll start with you because you are in the real estate space. Do you think that, that the law should we have an overhaul when we look at the laws in terms of like land ownership and occupancy and purchase and home ownership and all that? You are in the space, you are right there, you are among the movers and shakers. Should there be an overhaul when it comes to those laws?
Thank you, Judith. You are very correct. The overhaul is due. Even the initial law from 1978 has been contested since it was promulgated. So yes, we are due for an overhaul, and a lot of professionals have been pushing for that. I'm hoping that we can get something done during this administration, because if we need to do it so that we can encourage more investments in the real estate industry. The law is been created in such a way that it doesn't really encourage investment. It doesn't encourage confidence. It doesn't encourage confidence. And when issues like this keep cropping up and we don't have a seamless way of resolving it, then it will deter people from investing in real estate.
That's great. Thank you so much. Mr. C, are you there?
Yes, Judith.
Yeah. As a lawyer yourself, and you know this laws, I would say by hand, but tell us, like the last question, if you want to jump on the last question that I just
okay, so I agree with Toby that it's laws are they're long overdue for an overhaul, and it is very sad that it's taking a shockingly long period of time for some sort of clarity as to the ownership or title of the properties in question. Now, it is imperative that not our legal process has to be a lot quicker, it has to be a lot clearer, because that is one of the things that has slowed down foreign direct investment in Nigeria. Because when you take a matter through Nigeria's legal space, it appears to take forever to resolve. And in today's world, it is imperative that people are able to know their positions as quickly as possible. Now, with regards to people who have bought properties from the Lagos State government while this matter was in court, the Lagos State government should indemnify them or sort out the matter. It is that simple. So yes, our laws have to be overhauled. It's been ages since they were enacted, and they have to be amended to take into cognizance today's realities. But above that, we need to streamline and make more efficient, more faster the entire legal space. From commencement of the case to delivery of judgment, it just has to be a lot faster. And it's over to the authorities to make this happen.
Yes, indeed. We have messages here. I'm going to take this last message before we go on that break. This is Bamidele from Lagos. And it goes, "We are good at speaking grammar. Trust no professional of a country where fraud festers. Most of the people who practice here are thought to be criminals by money mongering. Trust your lawyer at your own peril, because judgment is for sale to the highest bidder. Wherever government scams its people, you see danger on daily basis. I'm not surprised, and I expect many more to come." And that's from see your name there from Bami Daily. Now we'll come back after the break. I'm going to be asking Tunji what's next for the residents. What have they been up to? What are their action plans so far? Because from what I heard from the voices of while speaking to the president of the MRA as well as the secretary, they are very tired. And I quote, she was saying that she had not slept in the last 48 hours and it's been a very trying times for the residents. So right after that, we'd ask what next for them? What are they doing? What do they have? What's the plan? And also, what's the way forward? I'm going to come to Toby and Mr. C for that. This is Drive Time Discussion right here on the Smooth Drive. Stay with us. All right, so we'll just go on it's going to be a very short break. It's not for too long, and then we'll come back and we'll just round things up. So, Mr. Tunji, you will talk on what's the next step. What have you guys been doing so far? You know, what you guys have been up to, the residency, so people can at least understand what's happening to you, the association on ground, and what the residents have been doing so far. You said that you guys had to barricade the gates so that, you know, the bulldozers don't go in, you know, but, you know, what other things, what other measures are you guys taking? Who have you spoken to, agencies you've been to? And then right after that, you know, Toby, I'll come to you. You know, do we see the state government making a move? Are they going to do something? You know, things like this happen in the industry. And then Mr. C, you know, you can help us tie up everything nicely. Are we good?
Thank you. Yeah, we're good.
Okay, thank you.
All right, cool. Mr. Tunji, are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, cool.
This segment of the Drive Time Discussions is brought to you by Rock's Even Complexion. More than you can see.
Judith, grab a cup of water.
You said?
Grab a cup of water.
Yeah, I'll do that. But is it really that bad?
I've
No,
been
I'm
doing the
just
same.
concerned,
That's
that's
why
all. I don't
I've
think
been
it's
going
that
up
bad.
a video.
Ah, I
I've
see.
been
No
doing
wonder you've been going off video, Mr. Tunji. Okay,
I've
we're
been
going
doing
back
this.
in. Ready? And welcome back. You're listening to Smooth, the 98.1. Love music, love life. It is the Smooth Drive for Humble Week Wednesday. It's the last leg here inside of the Drive Time Discussion portion of our show. A very special one today. Joining me live via Zoom today is three special guests as we discuss the Magodo Estate debacle that happened both Tuesday afternoon leading into Wednesday morning. What's been quite an ordeal for the residents. And I have with me here via Zoom Mr. Tunji. He is the legal advisor to the Magodo Resident Association and has just been giving us first-hand account of what's been going on there. I also have with me Mr. C as well. He is one of our very, very in-depth and thorough analysts that joins us on our newspaper review show that's freshly pressed every morning. I'm sure it's going to be on tomorrow, so you want to catch him then. It happens at 7:30 a.m. on the Smooth Breakfast. I also have with me Toby Adama. He is a real estate practitioner and he joins us live via Zoom as well. We're streaming live on YouTube, so go on to YouTube at Smooth 981 on YouTube. That's at Smooth 981 on YouTube. Now, before the break, I was asking, I was saying I was going to come to you, Mr. Tunji, for this. I've spoken to about 5 persons, or 5 or 4 residents of the Magodo Estate, and from their voices, you can, and these are all past ESCOs and present ESCOs are members of the ESCO community there. That's the MRA association. And from their voice, it's a very, very trying time for them. And I quote, the secretary was telling me that she had not slept in 48 hours. And that just goes to show, you know, how you guys are working behind the scenes to make sure that, you know, this goes away completely. But Mr. Tunji, you are there right and direct. So please tell me, so far so good. You said, you know, you guys had to block the entry so that the bulldozers don't go in. You had to form a barricade. But so far, other than that, you know, what's the association? That's MRA. What are they doing so far?
So the essence of the blockage this morning was to draw the attention of the government and the world to what is happening to us. And that's what we have done this morning. And then we have received the attention of the governor. We have received the attention of the world, and people have seen our plight. In other words, it's not as if people should not be afraid. Magodo, there's no property that has been taken away from Magodo. Nobody has lost his property in Magodo. There's no judgment to that effect because people are misleading are giving misleading information to people, talking about the fact that they've taken away the property from them. There's no such. The matter is still in court, and the matter is still pending before the court, and the court is yet to decide on that. We are the Court of Appeal trying to challenge the writ of execution, and we're also doing other things to challenge the judgment itself. In other words, because those residents who are occupying the property today now were not part of that judgment, and there was nothing in that judgment that states that particular plot, number 1, number 2, number 3, this plot or whatever is part of this judgment. There's nobody can ascertain. No, even those who are claiming the ownership, relying on judgment, they cannot point to a particular property that is what the judgment say is my own. So if you don't have a certain, you cannot ascertain your property, you can't lay claim to any property in any way. They say what the government says is that they should allocate land to them. Up to date, no land has been allocated to them. So until land is allocated to them, they can't lay claim to any land in this regard. And if a land is allocated to them, that means the government would have revoked the certificate earlier issued to somebody. And that if that happened, that person can challenge that in court. So the thing is still a far cry there. You know, the truth is that those Omonile, those people who are claiming ownership here, they've realized that their case is bad because that judgment was poorly drafted. That judgment cannot be enforced anywhere in the world. That judgment is not in their support in a way. When I say their support, it cannot be enforced. It cannot take property away from anybody. And that's why they're trying to use illegal means or forceful means to eject people from the property by using, unfortunately, the police is giving them backing when there's no any particular legal documents to back what they are doing. That is unfortunate. So people should not be afraid that Magodo is not safe, Magodo is this and that. That's just not correct. I can after this show, I can send you the extract of the judgment. You will see what the judgment is like. You can show it to any lawyer. They will tell you this is not judgment. This is just a mere declaration. Even that declaration is not static. There's no, the judgment must relate to a particular thing. You must describe that thing that you want to enforce, that the judgment has to do with. So you can't just say 549 plots. Where are these plots? Who own them? How do they look like? How many? What are the sizes? Which are you going to lay your claim on? Those are the issues. So they've realized that they have a bad case, and they are trying to force to draw the attention of the government to themselves and see whether or not they can pass on us, so that government will come to them and say, come and negotiate, or this is what we want, or that's it. Unfortunately, that is the situation we find ourselves in this country today. But there's no cause for alarm in Magodo. Magodo is safe, and there's nobody taking away anybody's property. That is what I want to say regarding that. We are taking steps regarding that step. We are going to take steps. Definitely, we are going to take further legal action. The matter is still in court. We continue with what is in court. They are going to take further legal action to challenge this inflation and to let the world know that judgment is not enforceable against anybody in Magodo and against any property in Magodo. We are going to do that.
Mr. C, given the snail pace of justice, or the delivery of justice in Nigeria, and giving that so far so good, 2 persons, this last message is pretty much the same, and it's from Bamidele. So I'm just going to read this Bamidele message and then get into the question I'm trying to get out of my head here. Bamidele comes back with, didn't such happen in Jibowu, Lagos? What about Aja and Isheri towards Igondo? As rightly mentioned by a fellow messenger, I think Festac is also bearing its own brunt currently. And then he goes on to say something, we will all see something shortly. Wherever there's no law, nothing is a sin. And that's from Bamidele. So that goes to my next question. Given the snail pace way that justice is being served or delivered, or the way law is being enforced in Nigeria, what do you think is the way forward for this situation and every other of the situations that everyone has kind of pointed out?
Okay, thank you, Judith. So, irrespective of the fact that justice delivery in Nigeria appears to be quite slow, it is not a license, it is not an invitation to take the law into your hands and unilaterally impose your own version or understanding or perspective of justice. Once you have submitted to the jurisdiction and authority of a court, you should await the determination of that court. You cannot, you should not take laws into your hands, because when you do that, we're going back into the Hobbesian state where there was chaos, there was disorder, there was unruliness. People cannot use the slow pace of justice delivery as an excuse to misbehave, to just act with undue impunity. And this is an advice for everyone. Do not take the laws into your hands. Do not interpret a judgment to suit your particular perspective. I agree completely with Mr. Tunji. That judgment of the Lagos State High Court is declaratory. It cannot be enforced. Beyond that, the 549 plots, like I earlier said, were not identified. The 549 plots, where in the Magodo estate are they located? From the gates, are they to the left? Are they to the right? Are they at the back? We have no idea. But we need to continue to trust the process, because this is the only way institutions will be built and strengthened. We have to respect the fact that a process is going through the courts and that a decision will be given, and we should abide by that decision. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Toby, I'll come to you for my final question here. You are in the real estate space and you see this every single day. And it's not just you. Funny thing is, it's those who build as well have issues with Omonile. Those who are movie sets, people who come in to shoot videos, photographs, there's always something with Omoniles. I know I'm saying the name wrongly. And Mr. Tunji, I'm really sorry, and everyone out there, it's Omonile, right? Now, landowners. But the question is, as a real estate expert, what's the way forward for you guys? What would you like to see change in the industry in terms of the local landowners, or the original landowners in air quotes? I lost Toby there. I lost Toby there. I think his gone. His network is literally gone. But guys, thank you so much for coming through, Mr. C. Hopefully he can come back if he can. Toby, but I lost you there. Mr. Tunji, I'm so sorry for all that, yourself and the residents at Magodo is going through. And I really hope that there's going to be a breakthrough somehow, and you guys will have some semblance of peace of mind, and you all can go to bed and sleep nicely tonight. But Mr. Tunji, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for your concern.
Thank you so much. And Mr. C, as always, I deeply appreciate you. I think Toby is back. Toby, are you back?
Hi, yes, I'm back.
Did you get my last question? Yeah, did you get my last question?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I was asking about, you being in the real estate industry. We've seen this over and over again, clashes between homeowners and Omonile. And, even when construction to the movie industries, they complain about the same people when they go to shoot movies and take pictures or whatever it is. They are always there. Either it's bribe, or they want some sort of settlement, or they believe that they are the owners. And so, something has to go to them. Like, what would you like to see being changed? What would you like to see moving forward? Because you talked about, more investment coming into the real estate, and this guy's always having to be sort of an issue. But what would you want to see change moving forward? And how can the solutions be? What are the solutions to these issues?
Thank you, Judith. I think the first thing we need to do is to define, each and every one of the stakeholders' roles. We need to know what the role of the government is. We need to know what the role of the court is. We need to know what the role of the Omoniles are. So once we define it, if any of the different stakeholders crosses what their role is into another person's role, then you already know that's a problem. And, we all can come together and sort of like correct whatever wrong, is happening. So when things like this happen, I think there are precedents, in the industry. We've seen this over and over again. And what I know for a fact is that it's always resolved, and there should be calm. I think the onus is on Lagos State government to step in at this stage. And I believe the Magodo Residents Association are doing the right thing by exploring, the court system. Overall, I think we'll move past this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Toby, for coming through. I appreciate you for doing this. In less than 5 minutes, you were able to jump on this program today. I appreciate you, and I hope to have you back again for another show. But thank you again,
You're
Toby.
welcome.
Thank
You're
you. And thank you to
welcome.
Mr. C. Mr. C, I'm really sorry I pulled you out of bed, giving all that we talked about earlier on the
You're
table.
welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you guys for coming
You're
through.
welcome.
And that brings us to the very end of Drive Time discussion right here on the Smooth Drive. My name is Judith, a TV. Stick around, more music on the other side. Stay with us.
Brought to you by Rocks Even
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. See you
Thank
again
you.
in touch.
Bye. Please have a lovely evening.
Hello.
Thank you. Please get in touch.
Dario.